Good morning, Western Washington, and happy Friday. I'm Matthew Fab with Western Washington Weather, and we've got a lot to talk about today with multiple storms moving through the area. So let's dive right in. Starting here with the satellite imagery, you can see our atmospheric river. It's a pretty quick one here, but it is moving across the area, and that rain is just starting to get into the lowlands right now. You can see the signature of the back side of it there with the cold front that is going to be moving through this afternoon. Taking a look at the radar, you can see that rain starting to move into the lowlands right now. You can see moderate rain on the coast this morning. That's going to continue all the way through this evening before we have a brief break before our next storm. Starting here with the alerts, you can see we have high surf advisories up on the coast. It looks like that one may have expired, but if we go down to the south coast, you can see that that is in effect until this afternoon for waves up to 20 feet. So that's pretty significant. And then we have a wind advisory up for the Admiralty Inlet area and Whatcom and San Juan counties. And those winds are likely going to be up to 50 miles per hour today. That's what the wind advisory is for. And we do have a winter weather advisory in effect from 11 p.m. Saturday to 11 p.m. Sunday for the Cascades. Potentially up to 6 to 10 inches of snow above 3,500 feet, except on Mount Rainier where you could get up to 14 inches. So Snoqualmie Pass may not be impacted by as much snow. And we also have wind advisories across all of eastern Washington, and then a high wind warning along parts of the Oregon coast. I'm taking a look at the overall pattern here. You can see that atmospheric river. It's right about here, moving up into western Washington on the side of this trough. Then you have this low that's going to move up into Vancouver Island, going to bring some very strong winds to some parts of Washington. And I say very strong, relatively speaking, because for October, these winds are going to be very strong and will definitely cause some damage and power outages based on what the European model has been showing and how it's been uptrending these winds over the past few runs of this forecast. As we go through Saturday night, you can see that low move to the north, and that trough starts to weaken and move out of the area. We're going to deal with showers all the way through Monday. We have a very brief ridge here on Tuesday, and then another strong storm moves up between Vancouver Island and Haida Gwaii, and that will bring another front to western Washington with more rain. And then this is the shorter run of the European model, so it ends there about Wednesday night. You can see we have a brief ridge moving through the area, and then after that, we have more active weather coming up, including potentially a lot more rain. So we have to watch very closely what happens next. Taking a look at the precipitation forecast here on the European model, you see that atmospheric river signature briefly move down here into western Washington by midday here. You can see heavy rain going through this afternoon and evening, going to be a pretty wet commute tonight. And then you can see that pushes out of the area by the time we get to 11 p.m. or so. You get lingering showers, maybe a convergence zone. We dry out briefly by about 5 a.m. there, but look at that. By the time we get to 8 to 10 a.m., our next system is already slamming into the area. You can see that strong pressure gradient right here, these constant black lines that, where they're closer together, that is a strong pressure gradient. You can see a little bit more mountain snow with this system. This pressure gradient moves up across parts of Washington as we go into the afternoon and evening, and then you can see that rain continues, turns a little bit more showery. Then we get another batch of precipitation as we go into Sunday morning, and that should bring a lot more mountain snow. It'll be a little bit, it looks like it'll continue all the way through Sunday there, but the thing that we're just kind of watching is how low that snow level gets, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment. You can see this is going to be impactful for some of the passes, maybe not for Snoqualmie Pass, but we'll see. And then we get this rain continuing all the way through Monday. Look at that convergence zone Sunday night. That could be a pretty strong one. And then we have showers continuing through the day Monday into Tuesday morning for parts of the North Sound, and then we have a break in that precipitation. Then that big storm off Haida Gwaii moves up here, and that brings another front to western Washington as we go through the day Wednesday, with showers continuing into Wednesday night. So there's definitely a lot going on here over the next few days. This is precipitable water, looking at amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. You see that atmospheric river. You can see how it moves through western Washington today, but it's pretty brief and starts to move to the south by the time we get to this evening and diminishes there by Saturday morning. And then you see the moisture associated with our next storm move through the area. Now taking a look at the simulated radar to kind of see what we're going to be looking at today. You can see as we go through this morning, that rain starts to spread into western Washington. We get moderate rain at times, especially going into the mid-morning hours. And then take a look at this band of rain that starts to show up here over parts of Arlington and Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, and then down toward Portland and Corvallis and Salem and everything down there. That is the cold front that's embedded in this atmospheric river. And these bands can sometimes stall out a little bit and produce very heavy rain for an hour or so over parts of western Washington, and this may also have some pretty strong winds in it as well, these cold frontal segments, so we have to watch that very closely. You can see that rain continues through about 4 p.m., and then we get a lot more showers moving through the area as we go into this evening, maybe a little bit of a convergence zone setting up as well, and then we dry out briefly into early Saturday morning, and then the next rain starts to move back in as we go into Saturday morning there, Saturday midday, some heavy rain at times with that system, lots of showers moving through the area, chance of thunderstorms as well, isolated, but the chance is there. And then as we go into Saturday night, you can see more showers moving through the area, and then there will be more on Sunday with another round of rain. I'm taking a look at total precipitation, European model here showing about an inch of rain for most of the region today with that atmospheric river. A little bit of a rain shadow here in the lee of the Olympic Mountains, including parts of the metro area with Seattle and Everett getting about a half inch to 6/10 of an inch, and areas to the south like Tacoma and Olympia getting about an inch of rain. And then you can see little bit of a convergence zone maybe off the Olympics here on the European model up toward Whidbey Island, maybe giving them up to an inch. So not the typical rain shadow. That rain shadow is a little bit more directly north. You can see like areas in southern BC like Point Roberts, Washington, and then the San Juans and Bellingham maybe getting about a quarter inch to a half inch. The coast and the Olympics getting 1 to 2 inches with this storm, and the Cascades also getting 1 to 2 inches. But as we go into Saturday afternoon, and then through Sunday, you can see that precipitation really starts to pile up across western Washington, especially going through there Sunday night. And if we stop this on Monday morning, you can see the total rain by the time we get to Monday afternoon is 3 to 4 inches on the coast and in the Olympics, 3 to 4 inches where it doesn't snow in the Cascades, and then most of the I-5 corridor from Bellingham all the way down to Portland getting 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain this weekend, really from today all the way through Monday. So definitely a very healthy dose of rain, really help us catch up on our October rainfall totals, and then we have another few systems moving in after that. So be aware for any urban flooding and stuff like that, ponding, some standing water, clogged storm drains, and all that. This is the national blend of models. This is the National Weather Service's high-resolution forecast. And again, you can see a bit of that rain shadowing with that atmospheric river at times. We may not get all that much out of this in some forecasts here. You can see that this forecast only shows about a half inch to 3/4 of an inch for some of the region. But it does show a lot more as we go through the next few days here. And if we go all the way out to Monday morning, you can see, again, 3 to 4 inches on the coast and in the Cascades, maybe some places in the mountains, up to 5 inches of rain, and then the I-5 corridor showing up at about 1.25 to 2.25 inches of rain on this forecast. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy, but regardless, there's going to be quite a lot of rain coming through the next few days here from Friday through Monday. And then taking a look at mountain snow, you can see with the atmospheric river, we don't get very much snow at all because the snow levels are quite high because atmospheric rivers have a subtropical component, which brings some warmer air. But as we go through Saturday and Sunday, you can see that snow starts to increase across some of the passes, especially going into Sunday morning. And look at the day Sunday, you do get a decent amount of snow on the passes going into Sunday night. Some of this may be in heavier showers, so it won't be as easy to predict. But you're looking at maybe 5 to 6 inches near Snoqualmie Pass if it sticks there, and that's kind of the biggest question in this forecast. And then places like Stevens Pass, the North Cascades Highway, Chinook Pass is closing this weekend, but White Pass there could get anywhere between 12 to 18 inches of snow. Snoqualmie Pass is a big question mark because of how low that snow level gets. And if there is a low snow level, maybe you're looking at 5 to 10 inches there, maybe a little bit more. But if there's a higher snow level, it could be just rain-snow mix at Snoqualmie Pass. So something we can actually use to take a look at this is the National Weather Service's minimum snow level forecast. This is from the National Weather Service in Seattle. This is for Sunday night to Monday night. And you can see Stevens Pass has a snow level at 2,900 feet. Stevens Pass itself, of course, is 4,000 feet. White Pass snow level 3,100 feet, and the elevation of White Pass is 4,500 feet. But then Snoqualmie Pass there, Snoqualmie Pass's elevation is 3,000 feet even, and the snow level's just a little bit above. So what you kind of painting the picture of is a pretty messy forecast for Snoqualmie Pass, where you may be getting some snow when heavier stuff moves through with that some of that evaporative cooling that brings down the snow level. But then if it gets lighter, then it's going to turn back to rain. So it could be a pretty weird forecast there, and some just off and on mixing between rain and snow at Snoqualmie Pass. So stay tuned for more on that as we keep looking at these forecasts. Now taking a look at the windstorm. This is all kind of, I'm sure you guys all want to see this. We had a little bit of wind today, potentially with that front moving through. You can't really see it on this forecast, but then there's the low, and you can see it moves up toward Vancouver Island, deepens, and then you have that strong pressure gradient to its south. And then as we go into Saturday evening, about 5 to 10 p.m., as it starts to push north, you get a nice pressure gradient cast across the Puget Sound area, and that's what's going to bring the strong winds as that storm moves up into Canada. So taking a look at the European model forecast here, you can see as we go through the day today with that cold front and the atmospheric river, you get gusts of 45 to 55 miles per hour up across parts of the northwest interior. We've already had Whidbey Island hit 53 and Bellingham hit 40 so far, and then Astoria Airport on the Oregon coast there has already hit 40. So today the European model showing winds gusting 45 to 50 miles per hour across the coast, 35 to 40 miles per hour there in western Washington, and then 45 to 50 miles per hour in the northwest interior. But then that low moves through Saturday night. You can see as we go through Saturday afternoon, those winds start to pick up with gusts up to 50 miles per hour along the coast there and up to 45 miles per hour in the interior, except the Willamette Valley, where you're going to have some stronger winds up toward 50 miles per hour. And then take a look as we go through the night there. You get these much stronger winds across western Washington, potentially gusting 45 to 50 miles per hour for the Puget Sound area, including Seattle, Bremerton, Tacoma, Olympia, Everett, all of that. And then you get a bit of a westerly surge down the Strait of Juan de Fuca, maybe bringing gusts up to 55 miles per hour for Lopez Island, San Juan Island, and then again another round of 50 plus mile per hour gusts for the northwest interior. And then take a look at the coast. You're looking at 55 to 60 mile per hour gusts on the immediate beaches, and then just inland likely 45 to 50 miles per hour. Stronger on the Oregon coast because of how the pressure gradient sets up. But this has been moving back and forth a little bit and uptrending significantly in the last few model runs. In fact, in yesterday's video, European model showed Seattle gusting to about 42 miles per hour, and now it's showing 47 to 50 miles per hour. So that's a pretty big uptrend in 24 hours. So we have to watch this closely to kind of see how it plays out. So stay tuned for more information on that. I'm taking a look at a higher resolution model. This is the NAM model. You can see it does show some stronger winds today across western Washington and the coast with gusts of 45 to 50 miles per hour, 50 plus for the northwest interior, and then 40 to 45 miles per hour with that cold front moving through for parts of western Washington, which may happen, although these winds will be brief. And then as we go into Saturday, you can see it will start to increase these winds on the coast. As that low moves through, you get those increased winds there up the Willamette Valley, up parts of the coast, and then up the Puget Sound. And you can see the NAM model here showing winds gusting 45 to 50 miles per hour across western Washington. In this situation, strongest from Seattle south through Tacoma and Olympia, and then down toward Portland, where you have gusts up to 50 miles per hour. And then you can see the northwest interior get that surge of wind down the Strait of Juan de Fuca after the low. Gusts in that region 50 to 55 miles per hour, strongest 55 mile an hour winds there in that westerly surge. And then take a look at the coast in this setup here. You have gusts up to 60 miles per hour in Hoquiam, near 70 miles per hour in Long Beach. So there's some disagreements in the forecast still, so we have to kind of watch it closely to see how it plays out. And then a big thing here, don't be in the backcountry this weekend. It's going to be snowing. It's going to be winds gusting 55 to 65 miles per hour, maybe even some 70 mile per hour winds up on some of the highest ridges. So this is not a good time to be up in the backcountry. And also eastern Washington going to get in on the winds as well, likely some gusts up toward or over 50 miles per hour across eastern Washington this weekend too. And then I wanted to point out the waves here. You can see we have some high waves today, likely maximum breakers up to 30 feet or so. That diminishes a little bit as we go into Saturday morning, but then just as soon as it diminishes, we get a bigger swell moving through with that low moving into Vancouver Island, and then you get some really big waves. They're likely maximum breakers up to 40 feet or so. Your actual significant wave height there is going to be 20 to 25 feet. So some pretty big waves, that's for sure. And then you can see that diminishes as we go into Sunday morning. So that's going to peak Saturday afternoon and evening, and then the waves diminish as we go through Sunday and Monday, although they remain larger until we get to about Monday, and then it starts to calm down. Then taking a look at temperatures to wrap things up here, you can see today with the atmospheric river, you get some nice warm temperatures there, highs in the upper 50s to low 60s. We cool down as we go into Saturday with highs dropping to the mid to upper 50s, but then take a look as that cooler weather moves through on Sunday, bringing down that mountain snow level. Highs drop in the lowlands to the upper 40s to low 50s, are one of our coolest days in quite a while, and then we continue that on Monday with highs in at the upper 40s to low 50s, and then going into Tuesday, we warm up a little bit for areas south of Olympia. Highs still remain in the low to mid 50s. And then going into Wednesday, we warm up a little bit more, highs in the low to mid 50s across the region. And then our outlooks here going into November, you can see below average temperatures, above average precipitation, same trends continue. And of course, Western Washington Weather Merch Store, 4 days left to get 25% off orders over $70. And then for more information about that, check out the link in the description. And also be sure to subscribe to Western Washington Weather and follow and join the Western Washington Weather Facebook group, and follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. Lots of fun stuff going on here, especially with the storms moving through. So stay tuned for lots of updates over the next few days. And of course, stay tuned to this channel for a lot more information as well. So thank you all very much for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow.